Republican lawmakers in California have filed a lawsuit asking the state Supreme Court to stop Democrats from moving ahead with a plan to redraw congressional districts. This all comes after Texas Republicans proposed a new plan to draw some new congressional maps that would have given Republicans 5 more seats in the U.S. House. California Democrats then introduced bills of their own to create new district boundaries that could help Democrats gain 5 seats in the House.
However, California law requires an independent commission to create congressional boundaries, which means the lawmakers would need voters' approval to draw the new maps, which would require a special election. California Democrats plan to pass these bills tomorrow and hold the special election on November the 4th. The lawsuit argues the California Constitution prohibits the legislature from acting on the bills until September 18th because new legislation requires a 30-day review period. Still not clear when a judge plans to make a ruling in this case.
Joining us now, our chief legal analyst, Khalif. Khalif, I'll start here. Is it as black and white as that is the state constitution requirement for that 30-day review period unless you can get the majority to push that through? Does it kind of die right there?
I won't say it dies, but it would prolong it. I think for sure there's a couple things with this whole story, and you got to talk about Texas if you're going to talk about this. That what occurred in Texas is wrong. What's occurring in California is wrong, and they are both directly connected to one another. The redistricting in Texas, the attempt to grab seats, potentially 5 seats that are now Democratic seats that now will flip to Republican seats by the drawing of the maps, was a power play and a power grab, specifically partisan based. So in California, in response, what do? Okay, we'll shore up those seats and give you 5 seats in California. The problem is California already voted to remove partisan map making from their process, and so now we're going to add 2 wrongs to what California is doing, attempting to first tit for tat what Texas did, but also violate what the voters have already agreed on that they shouldn't be doing. California was already in the right. Removing the political gerrymandering of map building from the process is extremely important. Having independent review council create maps is probably the national standard for how every state should be. But because we don't live in a bubble, because we don't live in some magical place where every state's going to be uniformity in the way that they respond, you'll have a state that does something and now you'll have a reaction. This reaction, I think, is also a misstep, but it's the step that Newsom has talked about doing, someone with political presidential aspirations, obviously, so any way that he can jab or stick a point to President Trump, he'll do that. I just think that in the long run, voters are hurt. And then what happens next? What's the next tit for tat? Now you have other states that can go back and say, all right, I can give you 4 more from my state. This back and forth of redrawing lines to remove one person and add another person from a political party doesn't hurt the elected officials. It just hurts the voters. So now you live in those states. If you're a Democrat and you living in Texas, you actually have no chance of electing anyone to speak on your behalf. And now on the other side, if you're a Republican living in California, looks like you have no chance of electing someone to speak and represent you on your behalf. So these elections that we're having now are sham at best, because you won't be able to vote in anyone that you want to get in the seat, because they've been drawn out and mapped to where your vote doesn't count anymore.
Well, and you're already speaking to my question. When you've got these procedural safeguards in place, like the 30-day waiting period, so that you don't fast track a bill without everyone really being able to deliberate and look at it. So what is the domino effect outside of Texas and California? I mean, could this set a precedent? If it is voted on, if it does pass, could other states start to go, well, then we're going to, whoever's in office during this 4-year period, we're going to redo our maps?
I don't think it's if. I think it's when. I think these states are watching and they're all counting numbers. You know, you ever seen those TV movies where they're trying to whip up votes? And, I got 20 votes on this side and I got 15 on this side, and I'm trying to get some of them on my other side. That's what's happening now, but it's happening state by state. And so you're talking to state legislatures, trying to figure out, well, who needs to move folks and who can draw maps? Or in California's situation, what rules do we have to remove? What things do we have to get out of the way to allow us to enforce what our decisions are going to be? That's where I think it's the problem. I understand the tit for tat what California wants to do with Texas, but to step over what you guys have already voted on in your state just to get there, to fast track this without making sure that it went through the process. So now you're jumping over 2 different hoops. You're fast tracking the 30 days and you're overriding what the voters have said in 2010. Problematic on both sides.
So do you think it's an automatic win for the Republican lawmakers who are filing this lawsuit then?
I think if you're looking at a plain reading, as Julian mentioned before, it says that you have to give them that 30-day time frame. Yes, I don't think it stops it. You get to the 30-day period. So now instead of it happening right now, it'll happen in September, and then they'll push that other vote further. So it won't happen in November. It may happen in December, but they still get where they want to go. But the goal is they want to get this in front of the voters for their upcoming election. That's probably why they're rushing it. They want to get it done so that there's no, I mean, they're calling this special election anyway. So all of this is expedited in nature. You might as well follow the process to get it done and ensuring that there are no hiccups. But the time frame of it lets me believe that the only reason that they're trying to expedite it is because if you don't get it done before that deadline, then this won't take effect for the voters to be able to vote on these maps or these modifications in time for a November election.
Khalif, do you believe this is the final act of the circus where people are going to say, I've had enough, and we finally see the court say, okay, you know what, you can't gerrymander?
Every time I think I've seen the final straw, what I recognize is I've been to enough concerts. If you clap loud enough, the performer will come back and give you an encore. So rest assured that even we think we're at the end, they still got one more hit that they can bring, which is I'll one-up you with another state and then another state and another state. And we will be further away from these United States and closer to there's a red state, there's a blue state. Not uniform at all, not consistent, very disgruntled.
It looks like, it smells like the democratic process in this country is going away. Maybe there's something there.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.